All right, everybody. Welcome to Fort Collins Kia Reviews. I'm Josh. I kind of wanted to start something a little bit new and different, and I apologize for the kind of the rawness of this. This kind of just came spur of the moment. It's been a little bit of an idea I've had for a little while, but haven't quite pulled the trigger on it. So I kind of wanted to get started. I have a topic in mind, and basically I'm going to call this new kind of more raw segment, this sort of just me just kind of talking into a microphone and kind of answering questions on it is going to be called Road Noise. And we're going to discuss different things about car buying, vehicles in general, kind of a generic topic related to cars, any questions that you have regarding the industry or particular models or dealerships or sales or any kind of other processes. And it's just going to kind of be me talking with you. In the future, we'll probably do live streams where I can kind of answer your questions and things like that. But I like to do this on kind of a weekly basis where I, pick a topic or get a topic suggested from you, and we kind of go through things to answer questions that you may have about the auto industry. Now, first thing out the gate is I don't know everything about the industry. I've been working in the industry for almost about 2 years now, and I'm familiar with with a lot of the with a lot of the ways that we do things at my dealership, but I can't necessarily extrapolate that to everything out there. So if you have a question and I don't have an answer for you, I will see what I can do to find out, or I'll just tell you I don't know. But we can try to use this as a dialogue. So as episode 1 of Road Noise, I would like to kind of discuss this time on why dealerships ask you to give them a perfect score on a survey after you buy a vehicle. So this kind of came to me because I've just recently experienced this aspect, and it's kind of a silly as well as very serious topic for people who are in the sales aspect of dealerships or the automotive sales business. And the reason is because it has a way of really affecting us either positively or negatively, and I'll get into that here in just a second. But this all kind of came about from a recent experience, and I will explain that story here in a second. But my experience with this prior to actually being in the business was a few years ago. I purchased my first new car, and I think it was back in either 2013 or 2014. And I purchased a Chrysler 200, the new design model when they were first released. And at the end of the deal, I was walking out the door with my father, who was helping me with the purchase. And one of the sales managers said, "Hey, look, if you can give us a perfect score on this on this deal today, we'll fill up your gas tank." Now, I imagine any of you out there who have purchased a car have probably heard something like this, where they say, "Hey, if you give us a perfect score, we'll do something for you," or "Please give us a perfect score. It means a lot to us." Yada yada yada. And, I agreed to it, but the first thing that came to my mind was that seems awfully weird. If I get a survey, the idea of a survey is so that I can kind of help the dealership improve the way that they do things, For example, because I think when I bought this car, I spent about, oh goodness, at least 4 or 5 hours at the dealership, probably at minimum. And, obviously as a consumer, I want to help them do better. That's the reason why, Amazon reviews and Yelp and some of these other organizations out there are there, is to kind of hold some of the businesses out there that we patron. It holds them accountable and makes them have to be better, because if their reviews are bad, people won't want to shop from them. And this is obviously something a little different. This is something that you get that's from the manufacturer that asks you all kinds of things about your experience, such as, how was the shopping experience? Did you know what you were looking for? How much time did you spend shopping before you purchased? Did you understand everything about the vehicle? Were there any questions about that weren't answered? Was your salesman or ready to address any issues or any questions you had related to the money? Were they giving you straight answers? How long did it take you to get into finance? Did they try to push additional options, accessories, and other things that you didn't necessarily want to purchase on you? How long did the overall experience take? Would you recommend this dealership? All these kind of different questions that you get that kind of comes from the manufacturer that relays back on the dealership as a whole. And when I got that survey, I opened up my computer, and the first thing I wanted to do that I felt was probably the right thing was to give them accurate and effective feedback, because I kind of felt like I was sabotaging my view, or the kind of selling out, I guess you could say, the idea that they offered me to fill up my gas tank if I gave them a perfect score. So I was kind of just selling out to give them a perfect score when I didn't necessarily think that they earned a perfect score. I didn't think they did a bad job, but I think when I left there, I would have given them a B, maybe a B plus, but wouldn't have expected. They didn't blow my mind. I'll put it that way. And by the time I received my car, I was so exhausted that I didn't want to do anything. I was hungry, I was tired, I was exhausted. I just felt like I was run through the ringer, and I wasn't even excited about my car anymore. But I told them that I would, and I wanted a free tank of gas, so I gave them a perfect score, and they, let alone, filled up my gas tank. And it wasn't until I started working in the dealership industry that I realized what that meant, like what these silly surveys actually meant. And so here's kind of my experience, and we get this as well. So every time you buy a car, you're going to get one of these things. And a lot of people take it in the same way I took it, where it's like, I want to help this improve. There was one thing about this, or there was a couple of things about this deal that I think needed improvement, and so I want to give honest feedback. Well, unfortunately, that's not how it's taken. And as silly or ridiculous as it is, that's not how it's taken by either the manufacturer or the dealership as a whole. So the manufacturer will come after the dealership, probably nothing super substantial, but the idea of whether it reduces their overall score among other dealerships. It's kind of like a blessing that comes down from the king, kind of thing. And so instead of it being used as a means for dealerships to improve their business model and for manufacturers to have true and honest feedback about the dealerships that they work with, it has become more of an idea of you just have to get perfect scores. If you don't get a perfect score, you fail. And everybody has to, maintain a certain amount. And it's not based off of the idea of trying to make sure that we provide the best service possible. Now, every business is different, and at Fort Collins Kia, we do try to provide the best service possible, but there's certain constraints that we have. And sometimes things just happen in a way that we can't control. But the thing is that what we really want to do is what we should be doing is taking the information given by our customers and taking that feedback and kind of learning and adapting and seeing, okay, we're seeing this complaint or this issue come up time and time and time and time again, and it should be a discussion. Now, I'm a salesman. I'm not a manager. I'm not a general manager. I'm not the owner. I don't work on, I'm not communicating directly with Kia corporate. So maybe these conversations are happening and I'm not aware of them. But down at our level, basically what happens is it doesn't make any difference what the reasons are When a customer or somebody who patrons the store buys a car and then puts on there that the amount of time that they were there took too long, or the car was too complicated, doesn't make any difference. That we as salespeople gets hit for it. We take the hit. And is it silly? It is absolutely silly. It should be utilized. I come from a military background. The concept should be utilized where we sit down, go over the concept, look where we didn't do well, look where we did do well, and see how we can necessarily improve. And if it's something that's related to the dealership as a whole, we should be looking at it as how can we improve the dealership. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes people are just not going to be happy. And that's just the way it is. It's more or less looking at it from a perspective of, is there like a pattern of behavior? For example, one of the biggest things that people have an issue with is usually the finance portion usually takes too long. And so what happens is people will say, hey, look, this takes too long. We don't want to spend all day at the dealership. I don't want to end up at the end of the day, at the end of my purchase, not even being excited about my car because it took so long. Some of that maybe we can change. Some of that maybe we can improve. But sometimes it just happens that way, but the thing is what should be happening is we should be taking that information and we should be trying to see how can we necessarily make it quicker so that we aren't getting these complaints. Now, as I said, I'm just a peon. I sell the cars. I don't have any decision making. So maybe that's what is going on. Maybe my boss and my boss's boss and anybody who's communicating with Kia corporate, maybe they are trying to work on ways to make it go quicker. But what I'm here to communicate this time is specifically to anybody who's looking to purchase a vehicle. One of the things that I always tell all of my customers, anybody who buys a car from me, I always say, hey, look, our scale is rated from I think 0 to 1,000 or something along those lines. If you fail everything, I think it's like a 0 or maybe it's like a 200. I don't know, but 1,000 is perfect. Okay. 1,000 is perfect. And I always tell every customer that I have that if there's any reason why you couldn't give us thousands across the board, please let us make it right. And this is real, because even one misstep, doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what it's related to, one misstep in that survey is considered a complete failure. So these surveys are kind of like a light switch. The lights on or the lights off. That's it. It's pass or fail. That's it. There's no middle ground, regardless of the fact that there are 20 or 30 questions that you have to answer. There's no middle ground. And it's unfortunate because of the way that customers receive it. The idea is that they're trying to give their best feedback. Hey, look, this was one thing that I saw that probably needed to be improved. Unfortunately, it's not taken that way. It's just taken as something that, hey, you failed, and so you're going to be you're going to take whatever lashings related to it. So this is what I would recommend as a salesperson who really wants to make sure that my customers are happy with the vehicle and the process. If you do have an issue, with something, please let us know. Bring it up. Do not be afraid to bring it up. If you have problems with the vehicle, if you have if there is some, I one time had a woman who bought a car from me, and there was some damage on the steering wheel that I was unaware of, and we couldn't even make it right. It wasn't until she submitted the survey that we ended up finding out that there was even a problem. So, if it comes down to it, and let's say there's a real problem, let's say you absolutely had a terrible time, obviously I would recommend bringing that up. We strive to try and make sure that the experience is as good as possible. Sometimes we don't necessarily hit that all the time, but we try. And I would recommend getting in touch with your salesperson to try and to at least give them the opportunity to make it right. Every once in a while, things just don't jive well. And look, if you feel like you need to say something, then I'm not going to be one to say don't. If you had a bad experience, don't necessarily say it, because if they deserve it, it's kind of like tipping when you're at a restaurant. If you got bad service, you probably do you really want to tip that person? Do you really want to reinforce it? And I would never hold anybody, would never, hold anything against anyone who tips bad service, who doesn't want to tip somebody who does bad service. But if it was like, yeah, the food came out a little bit cooler than I wanted, or, maybe they didn't, I wanted them to refill my soda and they never came back with it, that kind of thing. Things that like could be remedied. I would recommend just getting a hold of somebody, let them know. Even if I got a phone call saying, hey, look, I'm doing the survey. I don't want this to affect you, but you guys, this car is way too complicated. And on this survey, it talks about how is the car complicated. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is the survey that you'll get will ask questions about the vehicle. And as much as it seems like it's relating to the manufacturer, it's directed at the salesperson. So if the car is overly complicated or you find the components of the car too complicated, it doesn't go back to Kia for them to suddenly, I mean, maybe it does, but let's put it this way. The person who gets slapped first will be the salesperson. So the salesperson you worked with will get slapped first because you put that down, regardless of the fact that you're not making the question and the comment that you're rating it on has nothing to do with the salesperson. It'll ask you, does any of the features on the vehicle, are any of the features on the vehicle too complicated? And as much as it's not saying, did your salesperson effectively explain all the features on the vehicle, it still comes back and affects the salesperson. And the thing is that what makes it difficult, and this is not a complaint, but the thing is we want to make sure that we get you in and out as quickly as we can. We want to respect your time, and we want to make sure that that you understand, what you need to understand, and we don't want to bore you. There's only so much so much information a person can handle. And I've gone through deliveries with people before and their eyes just glaze over, and it's just, you couldn't go any further, and the thing is, and if somebody is not used to the technology that they're getting into, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. And in a situation like that, if it is too complicated, or if there's a lot of things that you need to learn, I would just recommend contacting your salesperson and saying, hey, can we go back through this one more time? Or just, even if you have just a specific question, like, look, I know you said something about a blue teeth or something, but I need you to kind of run back through that, because, as I said, as silly as it is, your salesperson is the first person to get hit. The first person to get hit with that. And as much as it should be hey, the question should be worded, did your salesperson effectively go through the vehicle with you? That should be the question. But even though it's not, and it talks specifically about the vehicle, that's just what happens. Now, I'm not bringing this up specifically because I want you guys to feel bad for me. I just wanted you to understand why, when you leave a dealership, you get different places will give you, will basically tug on your shirt and say, please give us a good score. Please do this, And, maybe some stores like the store I worked with, when I bought my first new car, will buy you, will fill up your gas tank. I don't think we're not supposed to do that, at least not for Kia. But that's why they will do that. That's why they will sit there and beg, and over something that seems so innocuous as a perfect score on a survey. And that's just because it affects our pay. It affects, how our reputation with the manufacturer. It affects how we're perceived comparatively to other dealerships. It's all kinds of stuff like that. So if you go in and you're looking at buying a car and they say that to you and you still have some issues, again, if it's bad service, hey, it's bad service. But if if it's something small or something minor or something that you think needs improvement, I would recommend contacting your salesperson and seeing if there's any way that they can make it right. And if they can't, I don't know, but maybe anything that they can try to at least give them a straight answer. Hey, look, guys, everything went well, but the car wasn't clean when I drove home. I got into the garage and there was still dirt and stuff like that in here from, and it just wasn't clean. I am extraordinarily sorry. Bring it back. We will wash it, clean it, detail it all over again for you at no cost. That kind of thing, I'll do it myself. So, but anyways, that kind of wraps up this episode of Road Noise. I just wanted to bring that up for you so you understood why every time you buy a car, everybody is begging you on the way out to give them a perfect score. This is the reason. It's extraordinarily important for us to get perfect scores because, again, it's pass or fail. There is no middle ground, no matter how many points there are on the scale. And that's pretty much it. So I'm Josh with Fort Collins Kia. This is episode 1 of Road Noise, and I'll see you next week. If you have any suggestions or any ideas, any topics you want to discuss, please let me know. All right. Have a great evening. Oh, and like, share, and subscribe. Told you it was going to be raw.